Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Ricky with Tactical Solutions. Hope that you guys are all having an amazing Sunday. Today is July 27th, 7:45 p.m. here in Arizona, and we are live. As many of you guys know, this week is probably the most important, that's kind of what I want to say, the most important trading week when it comes down to the companies that report earnings. The only one that's really big that isn't reporting this week is Nvidia. And don't get me wrong, Nvidia is going to be a big one when it reports, but it's really just that one. As of right now, this week on Wednesday, just so you guys can see, we have Meta, Microsoft, and Robinhood all reporting after the market closes on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, Apple, Amazon, MicroStrategy, and Coinbase are set to report earnings after the market closes on Thursday. On top of that, we have PCE report that's going to be released, if I'm not mistaken, 1 hour before the market opens, and that's going to be on Thursday, July 31st. And then, non-farm payrolls on Friday. So it is a pretty important week. Let me make sure that I have everything. We have GDP estimate, non-farm employment change, JOLTS, which are job openings. That's not, it's an important report, but nothing too crazy. Let's see if anything else stands out. So this is the schedule for the week when it comes down to economic reports that are set to be released. But I'm going to have to also see if there's anything on the Federal Reserve's calendar. What's up? Good morning. Good afternoon or good night to all those that are tuning in on the East Coast. Yeah. So if anything else pops up, I thought there was something about FOMC that was going to be happening this week. I could be completely wrong, but just want to make sure the series of economic reports that are on the schedule for this week, and then big tech reporting earnings. I'm going to give it a few seconds for everyone to start tuning on in. Can you guys hear me and see me okay? So Google reported earnings last week. So Google and Tesla reported earnings last week. Google's parent company is called Alphabet. And we did live stream that earnings report. So I think that was Thursday. Was it? I don't know. Wednesday or Thursday of last week. FOMC meeting on Wednesday. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. I thought it was this week. So, all right, solid. FOMC rate decision. Yeah, I see KW also stating that FOMC on Thursday. So, hey, Ricky, can you make a course about flipping land? That'd be something that I'd pay good money for. I don't know. So, the reason I don't think that I would make one myself is, although I have one for LPP, right, for trading, I trade, that is my main thing. That is the thing that I fully focus on, and it kind of, aligns with my daily routine. I don't have to go out of my way when it comes down to what it is that I do on a day-to-day basis. I enjoy trading. I do it. It's a huge part of my life. So going live, because that's such a huge value piece to LPP, it just goes really well with my day-to-day schedule. If I were to create something for flipping land or real estate or houses or the developments, I'm guessing that's why you're asking. I don't like just creating something and then not offering anything that is, not actually going to help someone, right? The whole reason that I think LPP has done so well is because I show up every single day. It's not just a course. It's something that you get to tune on in and watch me trade live every day. I know that if I were to create anything else, which I have not before, it would have to be something that would be above and beyond what anyone else offers. And I do not believe I would be making that time commitment or would make that time commitment to flipping itself. So I appreciate the offer. Maybe something later down the road if that ends up aligning with my day today. But as of right now, I'm really more of just the investor behind a lot of the projects that we have going on. So I don't necessarily have to do the work myself. So at least for me, I can't see myself running something like that I would be hands off. So yeah. All right, what's up, Nico? What's going on, brother? All right, let's see. I wanted to ask you guys, have you looked at Figma IPO? Not my style. So I'm not here to convince you not to trade something like that. I'm just here to make you aware that it's just not what I care to trade. So ticker Fig, yeah. I've heard of it, yeah, the up and coming IPO. I can just think about all the hype that's going on in the market right now. I can only imagine how insane it performs when it does take off. If you want to trade that and open yourself to that kind of volatility, be my guest, right? I lose nothing if you choose to partake in it. I'm just here to make you aware that I don't think it's going to be the safest play. But just because I want to avoid something doesn't mean that you should. Okay. Welcome back, Ricky. Looking forward to a green week. Same here. All right, let's go ahead. It seems like we have a good amount of you tuning on in. Let's just jump right into it. So out of the companies that are reporting earnings, I wanted to break down a total of 5 stocks. So if you guys want me to break down your top stock for this week, just share the ticker symbol. We'll go ahead and break it down. But my answer, if your company is reporting earnings this week, is going to be almost the same for all of them. And it's that I think that they're all overvalued. But again, if you want to take the risk, especially because market conditions have been supporting it, you could choose to buy now and just hope that the earnings and the hype still present itself and that it just continues to rocket. So if that's how you want to trade and that's how you want to position yourself, I'm not against it. I'm not going to do that. But again, that's the only setup that I could imagine people setting themselves up for Meta, for Microsoft, for Robinhood, Apple, or Amazon, especially MicroStrategy. We all know that this company loses money every single quarter, and it never realizes any of its gains, right? Because that's the only way that it makes money. The actual business of MicroStrategy loses hundreds of millions of dollars every single year. I appreciate that, Brady. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So we got Vanessa asking about Sofi. Let's break that down. So Sofi has been seeing a consistent uptrend. Kind of trading sideways right now. So it looks like it's up 1.4%. Most of the market is up if you guys are looking at overnight hours. If you guys look at QQQ, we're seeing the markets are at 0.57% based off of all the hype and hope of what's to come this week, and as well as some updates of hopeful agreements when it comes down to this trade war. But markets keep on pushing. We've made new all-time highs. Doesn't surprise me, right? Markets are irrationally just continuing to push up. There's no reason to fight the trend. There is no break of pattern. Higher highs, higher lows. With that being said, I don't think the market is a good deal. But there's a big difference between a trade and an investment. Would I invest right now? Definitely not, right? I don't think it's positioned very well to be buying more long-term at these current levels. Would I trade this right now? Yeah, right? Direction is favorable. Momentum is in our favor. The thing that I do want to point out about Sofi is that Sofi on the 1 hour, on the 4 hour, you can see that it's had a huge recovery from, what is this, 3 months ago, April. It went from lows of $8 to highs of $22, and we're kind of showing signs of consolidation. To me, that would be somewhat of a concern because it's showing signs of a slowdown, but there is no confirmation that this thing has to get rejected. So because of that, do I think Sofi is a safe buy? Definitely not, right? So if we pull it up right here, this would be the only way that I would imagine, buying Sofi is as a trade. If the market for that given day is bullish and everything is pushing up, Sofi will most likely also push up with the rest of big tech. So that's something to pay attention to, is that this week is a really big focus for big tech, right? And Sofi, it reports earnings before the market opens on Tuesday. My concern is the uncertainty that there's 30% of downside. Because of how much it's recently gapped up, there's pretty decent gap down potential. So it's just something to take into consideration again. But if you're trading SoFi intraday, I don't really think that that matters. You're really just trying to ride the wave up, take profits, and move on, right? Would I invest in SoFi long term at these levels? Definitely not, right? SoFi, again, rallies really strong and then pulls back just as hard. It rallies really strong. I'm just here to share with you my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. If you think SoFi is a killer deal at $21, be my guest. Feel free to buy it if you think it's a good long-term play. I just think that the downside risk at these levels is something to take into consideration long-term. It offers about 50% of potential downside. But again, if you're looking just for an intraday trade and markets are bullish, I can see why you could entertain trading or day trading something like SoFi if overall market sentiment and direction is in your favor. It makes complete sense. So do they report before or after the market opens? According to the schedule that I have in front of me, it looks like they report before the market opens on Tuesday. So all right. Let's see. Ricky, you keep saying that the markets are rising for no reason. Don't you think that it could drop in September when big institutions are back from vacation? Like it usually does? Do I think that that's why they would sell off? No. I've explained it before, especially if you tune on into my live trading sessions that I host in the morning with my LPP team. They've asked, right? They get to ask me just random questions. We've talked about it before. It's the optimism. There's a lot of hope that Trump is pro-business and that all the legislation that he will pass is in favor for business. And if that is the case, as there is a lot of optimism for that, markets are pushing up. So I don't want to say that there's no reason that markets are pushing up. I would say that fundamentals currently do not align with current valuations, but it's also, again, like we saw a really strong retracement because of the trade war. Some people were able to aggressively get in. And if you look at what happened then versus now, the same concerns of tariffs are still present. It's just that there's more hope that the pauses can continue to present themselves. The markets are not as reactive to these tariffs. I would really say the real thing that I'm paying attention to right now is earnings, of course, right? As these companies report earnings and our inflation rate. So like this week, the PCE report is going to come out, and the PCE report will give us a better indication, which is the Federal Reserve's favorite way to actually track inflation. It will give us a better indication of, hey, is inflation actually going up or down? Based off of the most recent CPI report, remember, it's the data that they're sharing with us, not from the Federal Reserve, but that's from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. It did show for 2 consecutive months that inflation is going up. But historically speaking, inflation is still relatively pretty low. And the only other thing to take into consideration is if the Federal Reserve begins to cut interest rates. So if the Federal Reserve does begin to cut interest rates, I want you to know, and I've said it so many times before, if the Federal Reserve does begin to cut interest rates, I think that the markets can continue to push even higher. Kind of like the post-pandemic rally that we saw once they started getting COVID all figured out, right? Remember, markets were already overbought, but they recovered and they pushed even higher, but then they corrected like a year after. I think that we can put ourselves in a very similar position. But that's if the Federal Reserve starts to cut interest rates. There's a lot of what ifs right now. I'm invested long term. I have no intention of buying more at these elevated levels, but I also have no intention of selling those positions at these elevated levels, right? I'm invested long term for a specific reason. The only thing is, if markets do retrace, I'll add more to my long-term portfolio. That's all, right? I want to keep it in a very level-headed way, the way that I choose to approach the market. So, it's not that they are not pushing up for no reason. It's that fundamentally, I do agree with that. It's, they shouldn't be at these levels, but when does the market ever do what it should be doing, right? It's always just factoring things in advance before they actually happen. That's why when markets correct themselves, they correct so hard because they had so much forecasted prior. But you guys have heard me say it all before. As long as you're being cautious, that's all you can do in this market. So yeah, let's talk about that. UNH is, you don't need to spam Logan. I have it here pulled up for you. UNH, there was some development. This one's going to be a very quick breakdown. I have not changed my assumptions of UNH at all. I told you guys when it originally sold off, and my average purchase price is right around $293. I told you that when I intended to buy it, I thought it was going to be a long-term play, and it still is. I think that we're really just looking for updates when it comes down to the investigation that's going under United Healthcare. And I think that until that investigation is resolved, this thing will just continue to test support. I think if updates come out and they're being further investigated or worse things happen, then we'll see a drop. It's expected, right? So don't buy if you can't tolerate that. But I bought with such a small dollar amount that if it does sell off, I can tolerate it easily. Worst case scenario, I can easily tolerate. Best case scenario, if it goes back to 600, meaning that it doubles in price, it's not going to also change my life, right? The dollar amount that I have in it when I tell you is very minute. It's just a cool way to be able to get invested at a cheap price for a company that's been incredibly bullish its entire term, right? Its entire life. From higher highs and higher lows, it's been an exceptional company. Patterns tend to repeat themselves. They don't always have to. I saw it as an opportunity. So very simple. If you're trying to make money right now, I would not invest into United Healthcare, right? And I'm telling you this as someone that's invested in it. There's no confirmation of a reversal. It's still under investigation, and it's all it's doing is consolidating. So I love being straight up with you guys. So if you're trying to make money right now, I would avoid UNH. If your intentions are you want to get into a company that could begin to recover and you understand the risk with UNH, maybe it's something to explore. So I hope that explains it for you. All right. Hey Ricky, I'm a paid member. I lost access to the Discord group. Can you please send me a link to rejoin? All you have to do is sign into LPP. So the second link in the description down below, since I mean that will take you to LPP. It's going to try to get you to purchase again, but all you do is on the right hand corner, I think you click sign in, and it has a forgot password prompt. So as long as you still have access to your email, you just sign in, and then in the welcome section of the LPP lesson library, you'll regain access to the Discord. Very simple. It's all literally explained within the first welcome section. So Ricky, have you ever thought about investing in real estate in Florida? Have I thought of it? Of course. I think it'd be great to own real estate anywhere. Would I do it? Probably not. I don't have a team there that I would trust to facilitate anything. When it comes down to flips, when it comes down to rentals, it's just normally if I ever invest outside of Arizona, I have a team that can, as in like a contracting team, that would come on in and make me feel comfortable understanding the variables of you know the different factors of how much it could be when it comes down to the cost of flipping that. So yeah, just as of right now, it's not feasible for me. I'm just one guy and we're slowly trying to expand. So I'm just not there yet. All right, PayPal. Powell should be in jail. I guess everyone's entitled to their own opinion. That's a nice little comment with nothing to support it. All right, we got Boeing here. Yeah, Boeing's done pretty well. In a short period of time, it went from lows of 130 per share to highs of 233. Do I think it's a killer deal? What do you guys think I'm going to say? No, right? Based off previous lows, I think it's doing well right now because of how much is set to be invested into the military, which obviously Boeing plays a pretty big part of. But based off previous highs, when you zoom out a little bit more, you kind of get a different perspective. There's just a very common resistance range right around 250 to 275. So I still don't think it's, I think it's too close to a major resistance that I wouldn't feel comfortable. But if you're willing to take the risk and then we break above that resistance based off previous highs, yeah, I could see the potential there. Especially if you believe in Trump and what he's going to do. I can see why you would have the conviction for that. Obviously, it's not guaranteed. It would still come at some form of risk. But I hope looking at these different time frames can kind of give you a different perspective of, okay, well, to me, this is an obvious resistance. But then when you look at the week time frame, you're like, okay, well, it definitely does have higher highs to reach, especially under this administration. It could have the environment, if all continues to do well, to continue to excel. So we'll have to look back and see if this thing comes crashing down to lows of 130 because it never belonged up here, or if it surpasses the resistance at 275 and continues to push up. To me, it would be too risky, and I just wouldn't do it myself. Read the news, Powell's about to be prosecuted. I think that you're reading tweets and not actual news. I can promise you Powell will not get prosecuted. If you're talking about the overspending on the bill or on the Federal Reserve building, I don't know if you saw a video over the weekend where Trump tried to ambush Jerome Powell and say that it was more money that was actually, costing to renovate that. And there was a building that was created and renovated over 5 years ago. It just, I feel like, emphasized how fake and how eager Trump is to target Jerome Powell. First off, it would take months to try to get Jerome Powell out of office. His term ends in May. So again, before you look like an absolute idiot with your repost about, oh, he's going to get removed, it's really important to understand the process on the back end so you don't believe just any tweet of a super MAGA person just saying that, hey, we need to start cutting rates, get Jerome out of there. Again, if you don't understand how the Federal Reserve works, then just say that. You don't have to, make comments like that. Very, very simple. So all right, let's go ahead and break down HIMS. So HIMS had a pretty interesting week, right? Because of what happened on Friday. So HIMS hit highs of $59, almost $60 per share, and then all of a sudden sold off to $54 and is now kind of consolidating. So as we saw most of the market, it gapped up again. We'll see if it holds up here. This would, in my opinion, it's too close to a previous resistance where you can try to trade it up to previous highs. But I want to remind you the reason that it fell. It had a partnership that fell through, and that's why HIMS sold off. It lost 20% of its value in one day. I want to remind you that because this is the type of volatility that HIMS offers. If you're going to trade HIMS, I think you should be made aware of this. If you go long or if you go short, I'm not here to sugarcoat it. I don't think it's going to be easy to short HIMS. I don't think it's going to be easy to go long on HIMS because of this inconsistency. HIMS is an overhyped up Viagra company. That's truly what it is. And there are multiple different things that are happening within that looks like it's just poking holes in its business. Based off of previous patterns, it tends to have a common resistance range of right around $63 per share. If you think that it's worth the risk to buy at 58, to sell because you can make 10%, great. To sell at 64, while understanding that the downside risk is 30 to 50%. So again, it's just important to understand both sides. It's not just going to continue to go up. There is pullback potential, especially with a stock that's showing that it could rally really strong and come crashing down just this fast. It hasn't done it once. It's done it multiple times. And again, this is a company that is losing, to my understanding. I'll double check right now before I even say it. So let's pull up HIMS right here. HIMS is a company. Yep, net income. At least it's in the green now. It finally got out of the red. It's trading at 78 times its earnings. It's a company that is currently valued at, what is it? Market cap of nearly $13 billion. But it's a company that makes $164 million of net income. It makes less than $200 million, but it's worth and valued at the current price that, if you think that it's worth it, be my guest and buy it, nearly $13 billion. So I'm pumped. I'm pumped to see what happens with HIMS, because I don't understand this one. I understand the hype between Palantir. I understand the hype with Hood and Coin. They're tech-based companies that are doing extremely well. Market conditions and environments are very favorable for those. I don't understand what tech you think HIMS has. I don't get how it's any different than any other Viagra company. I just don't get it. But maybe you know something that I don't. And to that, I would say, challenge accepted, right? If you think it's a super good deal, I promise you, I would not get offended. You buy it at $58.50 and go long on it. It doesn't affect me. All I'm saying is that if I was a beginner, knowing the highs and knowing the lows, I just don't think it's a good deal. That's all. So, yeah, that's really just it. It doesn't mean that it can't continue to hold up here. I just want to remind you, it rallies really strong, but then based off of its past, it comes dropping pretty fast as well. I want you to be aware of that so you're not surprised. Be like, dang it, man, I wish someone would have made me aware of the risk. This isn't an Apple stock. This isn't a Google stock that is pretty consistent and slow moving. This is a very volatile stock, and I don't believe stocks like this are meant or designed for beginners. So, what do you think about Hood earnings? Thank you for asking. I thought no one was going to ask. You guys know that I talk a lot of crap on Hood. What do you think I'm going to say? Let me see it in the comment section for the live chat. Remember, you just have to be subscribed to the channel to partake in the live chat. Hood is trading at $107 per share. It's about to report earnings on Wednesday after the market closes. What do you think I'm going to say? What do you think I'm going to say? Look at that. I would not short it. I know it too. I know that you guys would assume. If you're part of my LPP team, I really think that you would understand that I probably am level-headed enough. Or I'm not crazy enough. That's really not what it is, because it's not level-headed. I'm not crazy enough to short Hood. And the reason I say that is, dude, the stock is performing very well. It's very consistent. It's been a tough one to try to short. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, right? So you guys know that I only short intraday. I don't ever or rarely ever carry a short overnight. It's been tough, right? I really started paying attention to Hood when it was right around $90 to $100 per share. But even then, it consolidates really well. There is no break of pattern. It's extremely bullish. But the reason that I'm thinking that is growth. When I think about the business for Robinhood and the way that the market is headed right now, Robinhood is actually doing really well. I'm not saying that their entire business is perfect, but I'm saying you can tell that they're really trying to innovate the space. And I kind of respect that. I don't think Robinhood is a bullshit company like MicroStrategy that is all made up on the idea that everyone has to buy MicroStrategy instead of buying Bitcoin. I think that's an entire gimmick. I think there's a reason that MicroStrategy will eventually crash 90%, but that's, again, for MicroStrategy. Hood has everything going for it. Markets are bullish. Crypto is bullish. Trading activity is incredibly high. And if they do reduce regulation for the PDT rule, who do you think is going to make more money? More money than ever before. Who do you think? Hood. Hood makes money through order flow. So if you reduce the threshold from 25K to 2K for the PDT rule, now you're telling me that Hood, which is a beginner-based trading platform, is going to have all these accounts under 25K that can now do unlimited trades? What do you think is going to happen to all the people that are, now can trade unlimited times? They're going to over trade, right? That's huge. Remember, I can have my bias. I think it's, do I think that Hood is going to stay at this price forever? Heck no. But we're not talking about that, right? We're talking about this week. We're talking about it's about to report earnings. We know it's already a very hyped up stock. Like, let's not pretend. It went from $29 to $100 in 2 to 3 months. That's freaking crazy. So not only does it have a really good story, it has really good price momentum, and everything about this market that's driving the markets up even higher. Like, this thing has every reason to skyrocket when it reports earnings. I think that it can be earnings. I can pull it up right now, and from the last time I checked, I know it has a high PE ratio, but it wasn't anything yet. 58.2 times its earnings. That's high, but it's not Tesla high. Hood is trading at a more relative value than Tesla, even with its crazy price fluctuation. Now, please don't get it confused with what I'm not saying. I don't think Hood is a good long-term investment at $104 per share. Let me explain to you why. Everyone likes to talk about its IPO price. Remember, Hood's IPO price was $84. This is when crypto was popping in 2021, before it crashed. And it pumped up. And it pumped up to highs that we've never seen, right? And then shortly after, what happened in 2022? The crypto run ended and markets turned bearish. This stock lost 90% of its value in just a few months. So we can't predict the future. There's no reason to pretend that we can. In the short term, I can 100% see why someone would be bullish and would actively day trade Hood and going long. It makes complete sense on why I would even consider possibly going long. Nah, not really. I don't even want to say that because I know a lot of beginners watch my videos and I don't want to instill unhealthy habits. But I can see why someone would go long on Hood, especially before it reports earnings. I think Hood could be earnings expectation. It has every reason to. It's performed very well. Market conditions have been very active and bullish. Like, understanding the business, it's been doing well. But long term, we all know that retracements in crypto happen all the time. No, I don't think that it's going to hold very well up here. I think when market conditions shift, whenever that might be, we'll see a similar correction once again. I've said it before. The most overhyped up companies are the ones that crash the hardest when markets downturn. I don't think Hood is going to be an exception this time. I think just as hard as we saw it crash before, maybe not as hard. Hopefully not. 90% is pretty steep. But I think that we could see an easy 50 to 60% retracement. That's just my opinion though. But if we're talking about this week, I could 100% see why someone would be bullish on Hood. I do. I want you to know that, remember, if you're a day trader versus you being an investor or swing trader, you all have different intentions. So what might make sense to day trade might not make sense to go long term or invest long term. I want that to be expressed and understood. Okay. How much is Marlboro paying you for the advertisement? No, I don't know if you know who that is. We actually sell wall art. That's Niki Lauda. If you don't know who that is, it's an F1 driver for Formula One. If you see another one of our pieces of art back there, is also F1 inspired. So I would never promote or encourage you guys to smoke. I don't smoke myself. So Ricky, what do you think about Coinbase? I would say everything that I said about Coinbase, I would also say about Hood. I would have the same hypothesis on coin than I do on Hood. I think it makes sense to day trade it because it's bullish and it's consistent and current market conditions support it. Long term, I'll do the same thing that I did back with Hood. Long term, they all crash. Like, I'm not here to encourage you to sell because I want you to make money how you see to be fit. I'm just here to tell you that I don't think these companies, they become too overvalued within a short period of time. You know, this would be a different story if coin earned its price over years. But you're telling me that this stock was at $31 and then now it's trading at 400, right? It was just at 140 and then now it's back at 400. It's these quick shifts to me just are raising a red flag. With extreme volatility comes great responsibility. And I just think that there's nothing wrong with being invested in stocks like this if you're priced in very well, right? Like if I was priced in at 100 or 150, heck yeah, I'd be super excited. You're priced in to condition a lot of volatility. But when I invest, you can ask any Coinbase investor or any this is actually something that I would encourage you to ask anyone that's invested in crypto right now. If they're so bullish on crypto, I would have you ask them, hey, show me that you want, because they're all encouraging you to buy crypto or crypto-based stocks, right? Because they want you to keep feeding into the hype. I want you to encourage them just like they're encouraging you. Hey, since you want me to buy Coinbase at $400, how about you buy enough that your average purchase price comes up to $400 as well? So tell them to double down or triple down on their position. I promise you, none of them will hold a position at these elevated levels because they know that it's not worth the risk. For Bitcoin, for XRP, for Ethereum, for MSTR, for Hood, it just doesn't make sense. A lot of the people that are encouraging you to buy bought at 100 or bought sub 100. For a lot of you that are being encouraged to buy Bitcoin, they bought in at 30 or 40 or 50K. So yeah, of course they're encouraging you. Yeah, buy more at 119. It's, again, very simple. And they might say, yeah, I might buy a little bit more up here. No. If they want you to have an average price at these levels, tell them to put their money where their mouth is. Double down, triple down, whatever they need to do to show that they are buying just as much now as they were back then. I can reassure you that none of them would take that risk because the risk is just simply too high. It's not that you can't make money in the short term, it's that long term, crypto always crashes. And it's not just the 20-30% crash, it's a 50 to 80% crash. And that's what I would be concerned of, right? Michael Saylor would take the risk. But before he takes the risk, he's a little bit of a different story because he would encourage you to buy MicroStrategy, which means that then he will just dilute your shares, borrow against your shares at 0% interest, and then buy Bitcoin. Yes, anyone would buy anything if they didn't have to pay that money back with any interest. It's kind of like common sense, right? ring the register and buy the dips. I like that approach. I think that if markets were to retrace, yeah, buying when deals are present, I think that makes complete sense. Appreciate that. Is it Roisy? Good point. He's not in our situation. I just think it's, again, you know that I would never encourage you to go long on the trades that I'm going long on. I actually, if I go short on something, I always encourage people to not copy me, because I know people that watch my videos often, they're just getting started. I want you to be aware of the risk. I don't want to pretend like there is no risk. And this is why I always try to encourage beginners at these elevated levels to just think a little bit more on it. And remember, if you're being encouraged to buy at these levels, which is going to be your average purchase price, tell whoever's buying or telling you to buy that they should be doing the same thing as you to bring up their average purchase price. And again, none of them will do it. What are your thoughts on semiconductors? Are you invested long term? The only company that I'm invested in that works with semiconductors is Nvidia, and I have an average price of less than $100 per share. So imagine that. Imagine I was, obviously I want Nvidia to go up because that means that I would make more money. But imagine that. How much of a hypocrite would I be if I was encouraging all of you guys to be like, hey, don't be dumb. Buy Nvidia. Nvidia is the most valuable company that's publicly traded. Buy Nvidia at 174. Idiots. Come on. You're going to be left behind. This thing's going to $400 per share because of the weather. I mean, at least Nvidia is actually a good company. It's actually a company that fundamentally has a strong supporting business. And I do agree. I do believe semiconductors and these AI chips are the future. But nonetheless, I got in at $100 per share, sub 100. That's not fair for me to say. Why would I be encouraging beginners to buy here? The risk is so high that if markets do downturn, it doesn't matter what Nvidia can be. We all know that in the short term, there could be pullbacks. And beginners are not experienced enough to tolerate those pullbacks. So it's simply encouraging unhealthy habits for people that are just getting started. They're going to take a loss and never want to invest in the market again. Why? Because they were encouraged to buy at the top. All right. I see a lot of people talking about Tron. I don't even want to look up Tron. It just sounds like a pump and dump. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm happy to even just talk about it, right? Yep. Went from lows of 70 cents per share and is currently pumping. A lot of consolidation between 7 to 13 to $14 per share. I would never trade a stock like this. Never. Full on pump and dump. It has every red flag that a pump and dump would need. But again, if it meets your criteria, be my guest. But companies like this that skyrocket out of nowhere, I don't care what the news is, I don't care what the hype is, I just don't want any part of it. So I wouldn't even short it. Well, it doesn't even let me short it. But I would not short this because I know that it can pump. When something is hyped up, you have to respect that it could continue to rally. Kind of like the whole GameStop meme movement, right? When it was pumping for no reason, just because it's overbought and overvalued doesn't mean anything. As long as momentum is present and there is no break of pattern, this thing can continue to rally. To me, it's just not worth the risk. I don't need to go long on it. I don't need to go short on it. I just avoid stocks like this. Because remember, if you're actually trying to learn how to trade or invest, you want to do it with something that you can tolerate and or, try to manage. And it's going to be very challenging, not impossible, but very challenging to manage a stock like this that one moment is trading at $6 and in a few days it could be trading at 12 or vice versa. It goes from $13.80 all the way back down to $8. I think you need to learn how to walk before you run, And these are very fast-moving stocks, and I don't think that they're favorable for beginners. But yeah. Are airlines a better day trade or long term at these prices? So that was actually a conversation that I was having with my financial advisor. He's actually one of my buddies, and I love having conversations with people that have different risk tolerance and different thesis to when it comes down to the market. I like learning from other people and different perspectives, right? Airlines as a whole, the industry, they are kind of oversold, right? They did recently pump. Let me pull it up real quick. It went from lows of $8 per share all the way up to highs of 13. Do you guys remember when airlines were reporting earnings? It kind of looks like it's losing its hype. So it looks like it's pulling on back. It's testing support. We'll see if it breaks support. I wouldn't mind being invested in airlines long term. I wouldn't care to really trade it though, but I wouldn't mind being invested long term. I just would like to get it more around $10 per share. So it sounds like my daughter's asking for me to put her to bed. So yeah? Are you going to bed? Okay. Can you give me 1 minute so I can say bye to them? I'll meet you in your room, okay? And I'll put you to bed. 1 minute, okay? All right, 1 minute. All right, well, that is my cue. So we actually didn't break down as many tech companies as I thought. What I can end up doing is that throughout this week, because a lot of them don't report until Wednesday or Thursday, if you guys want me to, just let me know by dropping a thumbs up and subscribing. I can make a video per stock on what the expectation is, what I want you to know, and best case and worst case scenario based off of analysts. We'll look at the company fundamentally, we'll look at the company technically, and then we'll break it down, and it'll be a video almost just per stock. Maybe I'll just do like the top 2 or the top 4, but if you guys would like me to make that video, just drop a thumbs up and subscribe. So also, do not forget, again, what I ended up using today when it comes down to Investing Pro, and also with the new technical analysis feature. If you guys want access to Investing Pro, right now they do have a big sale. You don't have to, but if you do want access to it, you can get 65% off, which is you kind of just stacking on coupons. It's the first link in the description down below. They're hooking you guys up with a discount. And you can check it out, right? It's something that I use to perform a fundamental but also technical analysis. It's a tool that I use almost every single day. Remember, you do not have to use it, but if you've seen me use it on my videos on how you can perform a little bit of a deeper analysis by the pro research and look at the company's financials and, you know, kind of just like the whole actual back end structure, right? How it produces revenue, the overall profit, the net profit. If you care to do that much of a deep dive into a company, then again, Investing Pro gives you access to these tools. You do not have to use it, but if you want to, first link in the description down below, you can test it out and it will get you 65% off. So I enjoyed the conversation with you guys. I hope to see you for tomorrow's, I didn't realize how crazy my hair looked. I hope to see you for tomorrow's live trading session with my LPP team. I do trade live every single morning. It's the second link in the description down below, and it is designed for complete beginners. It's a one-time payment, lifetime access. You can sign up right now if you want to with that discount link and watch me trade live starting tomorrow. So I appreciate your time. Again, a very big and important earnings week this week, and I hope to see you there for our live session. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a